secret pain, your spirit soars and sings. Though sorrow clouds your day, it's sunny skies tomorrow brings. And take my hand, let's be friends forever. And take my hand, alone no more, not ever. Imagine dreams are real, and soon you'll start to feel there's magic all around. And take my hand, love is all around.
On this particular morning, the weather was lovely, just as Anne had wished it would be for a picnic. But she still didn't know if she'd be allowed to go on the picnic. Marilla was convinced that Anne knew where the lost amethyst brooch was. She thought that Anne had lost the brooch, but being a stubborn little girl, she wouldn't admit it.
Marilla, I've thought about it and I'd like to confess.
It's about time. Anne, I'm rather curious to know what you have to say.
You are right. I picked up the brooch and held it in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I really wasn't planning to take it when I went to your room, but it glittered so beautifully that I just couldn't resist it. I thought how lovely it would be if I could take the brooch with me into the birch forest. Then I would be able to imagine quite easily that I was Lady Cordelia. If a person were to own an amethyst brooch, then there would be no problem imagining that you were a pretty girl. Well, Diana and I once made some interesting necklaces. We threaded rose-hips together on a string, which looked quite pretty. But what is a simple rose-hip necklace compared to a beautiful real amethyst brooch? Diana's such a pretty girl. For once, I also wanted to be pretty as Lady Cordelia. Well, you see, obviously I didn't want to steal the brooch, only borrow it. I was sure I just put it back where I found it and then you wouldn't notice anything. But while I stood on the bridge overlooking the shimmering waters of the lake, I wanted to look at the wonderful amethyst brooch once more. Since I had pinned it quite high up onto my dress, I couldn't see it that well, so I had to take it off, and that was exactly the wrong thing to do. It sparkled beautifully in the sunlight. I closed my eyes and forgot that I wasn't really Lady Cordelia. Marilla, your brooch sank. It sank slowly down into the deep water. For a little while I could see it, but then it disappeared. Now it lies forever at the bottom of the lake, and no one will ever be able to admire it again. Unfortunately, that is the whole sad story, Marilla.
I can't believe it. I think you must be the most awful little girl I've ever come across.
Yes, I suppose that's true. I know that I deserve to be punished for what I've done. It is your duty to punish me, Marilla, but please let us get it over and done with as soon as possible. I'd like to go on the picnic without having to feel awful about the brooch.
What? You want to go on the picnic? You won't go on any picnic today, do you hear me? That will be your punishment. As a matter of fact, you should be punished more severely for what you've done.
Won't you let me go to the picnic? Oh, no! Marilla, I have to go to the picnic. I confessed everything because I so desperately wanted to go. Give me a hiding right now. I deserve it, but don't tell me that as punishment you've decided to make me stay at home. Oh, no, Marilla, you cannot do that. You must let me go. Oh, please. They're going to dish up lots of ice cream and I've never had the chance to eat it. I just love to taste it.
You can cry as much as you want to, Anne, but that will certainly not make me change my mind. Oh, forget about the picnic, understand? Sometimes I really think she is not normal. I just don't understand her. No normal child behaves like she does. And if she's not crazy, then she has very bad character traits. Rachel was right when she advised me not to take her into my home. How on earth does one handle her? How does one rear a child like Anne Shirley?
Marilla scrubbed and polished all day long, and when she was finished and the house looked spick and span, she started cleaning up all over again. Marilla knew she was being silly doing all this unnecessary work, but she felt helpless and sad, and she was in a very, very bad mood. She hoped that the spring cleaning would distract her from her problems.
Diana, would you please bring me your basket?
Does this dress look nice on me?
Of course it looks very nice. Otherwise I wouldn't have made it.
That's true.
No, Minnie May, that's not for you.
Oh, Mummy. One can hardly believe that Anne has never eaten any ice cream. You won't believe how much Anne is looking forward to the picnic.
Really?
Anne, calm down. The food is ready.
I'm not coming. I'm not hungry. My heart is completely broken, and one day you'll realize that you're to blame for it, and I hope you'll regret it. For everything that you do, you must always bear the consequences. Don't forget that. But I forgive you. And someday when you think about it, I'll remind you that I forgave you. But please don't expect me to eat anything when I'm so desperately unhappy. And to make things worse, it's cooked pork and beans. Pork and beans seem to be such an unromantic food when you find yourself in deep despair because your heart is broken.
Oh.
Ice cream.
Yes, you're right. She wouldn't have taken the brooch and then come up with such a strange explanation. But she's really a lovely, friendly little thing and can tell interesting stories. I like her. Don't you think you're being a little too harsh by not letting her go on the picnic?
Matthew Cuthbert, I must say you really surprise me. You find me too strict, whereas I think I'm far too understanding. The actual problem is she doesn't even vaguely understand that she did something wrong. And that's precisely what I dislike about the whole issue. If only she would show the tiniest ounce of regret. But no, she just refuses to have any feelings of guilt whatsoever. Why should she realize her mistakes if you don't even notice any of them? You're always finding excuses to protect her.
Well, she's so modest. Hmm? She's just a poor little orphan, and life hasn't treated her very well. She's never owned anything pretty or experienced anything wonderful like a picnic.
Matthew, don't try to soft soap me with a sob story. Something bothers me about this whole business, but what? I wonder what it is. Why am I bothered about it? Oh! I really don't know what to make of this whole thing. Right at this moment, my amethyst brooch is lying at the bottom of Barry's pond because that's where Anne lost it. Why on earth did she think up such a strange story? What point was she actually trying to prove? If by some chance she was telling the truth, then I'm afraid Green Gables has ghosts. Ow! Ooh! Yes, it was Monday afternoon. When I arrived home, I first put the shawl down on the dresser and then packed it away. I wonder why she lied. Jerry Boo! Boot, harness the horses and get the carriage ready. Hurry up, we must leave immediately. Wake up, Anne. Anne Shirley. The brooch was pinned to my shawl, which was lying in the suitcase in my bedroom. I've just found it now, and I'd really like to know why you told me such a wild story.
Don't you remember you said I must stay up in my room until I confessed to everything? At all costs, you wanted to hear that I had taken the brooch. So you see, I thought I'd be doing you a favour. I would have said or done anything to be able to go to the picnic. While I was lying in my bed last night, just before I fell asleep, I thought up a confession. I wanted it to sound as exciting as possible. Just in case I forgot it, I learnt the whole confession off by heart. But it was all for nothing, because in spite of my clever story, you won't let me go to the picnic. I thought my confession was very good, considering it was my first ever.
I really can't believe it. You can push one to such limits. I know one thing, I actually made a mistake. I shouldn't have been so stupid as to have believed your silly tale. I know by now that you're prone to making up all sorts of stories. Anne, you've tried to lead me by the nose by lying to me. I hope you realize now you shouldn't have. It's just not acceptable. But I'm also partly to blame. I forced you to do it. I'm sorry. Besides, if you have the heart to forgive me, then I must be able to do the same for you, Anne. So let us both start over from the beginning. Now, quickly, get dressed. You're going on a picnic.
I'll be able to eat ice cream. But Marilla, isn't it already too late now?
No, not at all. It's only 2 o'clock. The picnic only starts in an hour's time. Go and wash your face and brush your hair and put your pretty satin dress on. In the meantime, I'll pack your basket. I've baked so many cookies, I'll be able to feed the whole town. And Jerry Boot has already harnessed the horses. If you hurry, you'll still be in time.
Oh, thank you, Marilla. It was only 5 minutes ago that I felt so miserable. I actually thought I would have been better off if I had never been born. But now for all the tea in China, I wouldn't want to be an angel.
Could you talk about this later? Just hurry up or you'll be late.
Yes. When did you bake all these goodies? The cherries are from the Snow Queen, am I right?
Yes, you are. And I've also packed some blackberry jam. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you very much. I'll see you this evening.
Be careful. And please behave yourself, Anne. Jerry, ride as fast as you can.
Fast as I can.
Thank you, Marilla, thank you.
It's a pleasure, my child.
Bye-bye. Diana, wait for me. I'm coming, Diana. I'm coming, Diana. Anne! Sorry I'm so late. The most important thing is you're here. Are you enjoying it? Good.
Come on now, children. The ice cream is ready. Hurry up, otherwise it's going to melt.
The great moment has
Can I have some? Thank you.
dear Matthew, what a lovely day. I'll quickly change and then while helping you, I'll tell you everything. It was absolutely superb. Superb is a new word I learnt today and it best describes the lovely picnic. I thought it would be wonderful, but not as good as it really was. We could drink as much tea as we wanted, and just imagine, Mr. Andrews rowed us across the lake. And do you know what? Jane nearly fell overboard. She leaned too far over the edge of the boat and almost lost her balance. It's a pity that something exciting like that doesn't happen to me. It would have been so romantic to have nearly drowned on one's first boat ride. And you know, there was lots of ice cream. It was such a wonderful experience for me. I can't begin to tell you how much I enjoyed it. It was superb, out of the ordinary, amazing, and delicious. And I think that's the word you use when you want to say something tastes very good.
Matthew, I have to admit that I made a mistake and I regret it. But when I think of Anne's confession, well, I still laugh about it. I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it. You just can't imagine how complicated and mixed up all the stories were that poor Anne thought up. I laughed so much my stomach ached. Oh, Matthew, of course this still didn't give her the right to lie to me. But if I have to be honest, I was also partly to blame, you know. I know Anne's different from other children, but I often find it very difficult to figure out what's going on in her mind. There are so many things that she still has to learn, but she will. But there's one thing I'm absolutely sure about. Even the most boring household in the world would become an interesting place if she were part of it.
I think you're right.
For a long time, Anne still dreamt about the wonderful picnic, and in her fantasy world, it was always more exciting. But then she forgot about the picnic because something else was much more important, her first day of school. But more about that in our next episode.
Soft whispers on the breeze, the wood nymphs in the trees are calling out your name. They offer you their gift, sweet fragrance fills the air. The magic of a moonlit night, a nightingale's song to share.